In the bayou where the legends collide, Cajun Turnbuckle where the true stars reside. DJ D dropping beats from the heart of the South. Marky Mark is the name, flowing straight from the mouth. W do we dream? AW's on the scene. Turn it up loud, let the swamp shake the ground in the ring. Where the real deals are found, fighting night, predictions on the moonlight glow. Cajun Turnbuckle, let the world know. Predict them evils like they chests on the mat. TNA warriors, can you feel the comeback? Match reviews echo through the swampy air. In Southwest Louisiana, we rise with flair. From the legends past to the stars up ahead. Turn it up loud, let the swamp shake the ground in the ring. Where the real deals are found, fight night, prediction on the moonlight glow. Cajun Turnbuckle, let the world know. In the swamp, we make history each day. Cajun Turnbuckle, come join the play.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hello again, and welcome to another live edition of the Cajun Turnbuckle Podcast on Dirty South Entertainment. We're your hosts, and we're back again celebrating. I'm in my Teoscar Hernandez years. I forgot what years you're in, but it's Marcus and Big Rich. Hope you had a wonderful birthday week. I sure did.
Well, if we're going to use I did, and if we're going to use the Dodgers analogy, I guess we would go Oral Hershiser.
I just pick a random athlete I could think of. Like when I look at the age, I'm like, let me go see who I could put in this. So,
well, then if we're going to do that, then let's do Esmerlin Valdez.
all right, for you, yeah. Because I think I started it. The trend started when I turned 23. When I turned 23, let's say a long time ago. I mean, it was only like 13 years ago. I turned 23. Or 14 years ago, somebody came up to me and like, you're in your Jordan years now, or you're in your MJ years. And I was like, yeah, I did turn 23. And then sure enough, when I turned 24, they came back to me and they were like, now you're in your Kobe years, your Mamba years. So it's kind of been a trend. So I just I find an athlete each year and I'm like, okay, I'm turning this age.
Yep. That's a little bit of the difference between you and me, because when I hit 23, that would have been my Sandberg year. 24 would have been my Jeff Gordon year. And see, I'm one day older than Jeff Gordon. His birthday is August 4th, 71.
Yep.
Mine's August 3rd, 71. So I have him by one day.
Well, hell,
I brought that up to him one time when I interviewed him.
You share a birthday with Tom Brady, so you got a lot of room to say you
Don't
share
remind me. Don't remind me of that.
Well, hey, you share a birthday with you also share a birthday
Huh?
with James Hetfield from Metallica.
I do. See you later.
I share a birthday with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
And Obama and the Zach and Cody twins.
That's right.
And Blake Monroe.
Okay.
That's about as far as I'm going.
I don't know if there's any. I'm not sure that there's any wrestlers with an August 3rd birthday. I know there's a few that died on August 3rd.
I share a birthday with Dean Malenko.
Let's see. Damian Mizdow.
Aaron Stevens. You share a birthday with him?
Yeah.
Or Aaron Rex.
Damian Sandow, Haystacks Calhoun, for you old-timer folks. Bull Ramos, another Texas, and Nyla Rose, former TNA, or not TNA, AEW women's champion.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but
speaking of deaths, sadly, speaking of deaths, we lost one on my birthday. Sadly, we lost Dory Funk Jr., which Terry Funk's brother, they got together. He's a former NWA World Champion. This was more of your time. I mean, I've just seen tapes of him. I remember him getting inducted in the Hall of Fame with his brother in 2009 in Texas. You know a little more about Dory Funk than me. I just know that's Terry Funk's brother, and they were just like one of the best tag teams to come out the Lone Star State, especially up in the Northwest Texas area.
Oh yeah, they're from Amarillo. Dory Funk Sr. Started the Amarillo territory, ran it for a ton of years, and then Terry and Dory Jr. bought it from him and ran it for a number of years. Dory and Terry hold the distinction of being one of only two sets of brothers to hold the NWA World Championship, the other being the Briscoes. If you want to talk about complete opposites, that's Terry and Dory Jr. when it came to interview style, when it comes to in ring, when it comes to all that stuff. As loud and as exciting as Terry was, Dory just wanted to get in there and wrestle and pin the guy and get the hell out of the ring. I mean, that's pretty much the way it was. His interviews were very, he was the first one. Remember how Jake the Snake Roberts never raised his voice? And it was just one of those very matter of fact kind of, and that's the way Dory Jr. did his interview. You never heard him raise his voice. Spent a lot of time, of course, in Texas, a lot of time in Florida, with Eddie Graham and guys like that out there. He was an extremely well-known and well-received wrestler wherever he went. Retired way before Terry did. I mean, Terry wrestled until he was in his 70s. Dory retired, I think he was like in his late 40s, early 50s. He'd make a couple of appearances here and there, but that just wasn't his thing. But definitely, no questions asked, one of the pillars of the NWA, especially, and territory wrestling, especially Texas wrestling.
Yeah, he was a true pioneer, true icon, and yeah, he'll be missed by like his true fans who definitely grew up watching him. But that saying, especially if you come from, no matter if it's from the South or wherever you're from, they always have that saying that say, when someone dies, a new life is brought into this world. Well, also on my birthday, I want to give a big congratulations, Bianca Belair and Montez Ford's birth of their baby boy on my birthday. So I get to share a birthday with hopefully a future wrestler.
There you go. Yeah. Big congratulations to Montez and Bianca on that. I know that's something that has been talked about for them for a few years now, that one of the things she was really excited about doing in her life was becoming a mom. So, that's pretty cool for her. And of course, for Montez, if I remember correctly, Montez has another child. So this isn't his first, but at the same time, congratulations to them. And definitely big, big kudos to the little one. And we'll see, a lot of times the wrestlers take longer than what you think they would, before they come back. Some never come back. I mean, you get someone like a Lacey Evans, she never came back when she had her baby. Naomi's still not back after having her baby, and it's been close to a year now since she had the baby. So, and I get it, it changes. I mean, it changes a lot of things. It's also, particularly in Naomi and Bianca's cases, daddy's a wrestler too. So then you got to figure that whole thing out. I've heard Becky Lynch talk about how her and Seth Rollins had to juggle things whenever they had their baby. Um, so it's definitely not easy with all the travel. I mean, it's not like they're both working 9 to 5s and they come home every night after work and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are traveling all over the country. Fortunately, in most of the cases, I might be wrong, but in most all of the cases, the husband wife dynamic has them on the same brand. Yeah, like Seth and Becky, and Jay and Naomi were both on the same brand, and Bianca and Montez, and that kind of thing. So
I'll give it about a year and a half. I could see Naomi come back. She'll kind of have the same time gone like Becky did when she was pregnant, because Becky was gone about a year and a half. She announced it like right at the beginning of the pandemic, and she came back right about when they went to full normalcy in August of 2021. So I'll give Naomi about a year and a half. Maybe sometime in 27 she can come back, but it might be different.
Sure.
But I tell you, what else happened on my birthday? I need to get your take about this. So they just announced the Royal Rumble in 2027. It's going to Glendale, Arizona, State Farm Stadium, home of the Cardinals. First time since WrestleMania 26. They're going to do a show in that stadium. Only the first time since 2019 they're going back to Phoenix area, but this time they're going to Glendale. But second time in February. I just can't twist Rumble in February, so that I'm going to assume WrestleMania is probably going to be late-ass April in Saudi. But here's the concept.
Yeah.
They're portraying that this possibly could be the final Rumble as a one-night event. They are really trying to shift the gear to make it a two-night show. And I was okay with WrestleMania being 2 nights if they're trying to do like the whole Wrestle Kingdom type shit and to try and get everyone on the card possible. With how SummerSlam was, we'll get to SummerSlam later. I wish SummerSlam would go back to one night. We don't need every big four as a 2-night event. WrestleMania gets a pass. SummerSlam needs to go back to one night. With the Rumble,
don't need WrestleMania this 2 nights either.
Yeah, but I wish it'd go back to one. But if it's to get as many people on the card as possible, then fine. I'm okay with it being 2 nights. But the Rumble, you have 2 matches that last a whole hour with 30 people. You don't need 2 nights to get everyone on the damn show. But it's the ones arguing like, well, they only let the women main event the Rumble once. Let one close out one night. No, I'm fine with 2 1-hour matches in one night, and with 2 more matches or even 3. Rumble is fine as a 4-match, 5-match card. Don't need to be 2 nights. Then that's going to have the concept of not having Saturday night's main event anymore, just to have these other minor or mid build-ups to put them on a showcase and whatnot. You don't need there's matches that build-ups that don't need to be on a damn pay-per-view. Keep it like on Saturday night's main event, or keep it on free TV. It don't need to be 2 nights just to get a build-up.
You have a point. I mean, I just don't like the 2-night thing. I would much rather, and I realized they had the fiasco with the deal with WrestleMania in New York, where it went till like 1 a.m. and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they had issue with subways and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Started a little bit earlier and do what AEW does. I mean, if you've noticed, WWE is copying some AEW stuff already.
Yeah.
Why not go ahead and do what AEW is doing and have a 4.5-hour pay-per-view for WrestleMania, put it all in one night, have the pre-show with 3 or 4 matches, which you were doing anyway, have the pre-show with 3 or 4 matches that starts at, I'm just throwing numbers out here, starts at 5 o'clock Eastern time, goes for 2 hours. The main show starts at 7. It goes for 4 hours. It's over at 11 Eastern. And you're done. 4.5 hours, 11, 11:30, and you're done. You do it all in one night, all that kind of thing. I think that, and I'll give you a perfect example with SummerSlam. And I think I might have brought this up last week when we were talking, or I may have brought up during the baseball show actually when we were talking. They had right at 30,000 each night for SummerSlam. How many would they have had if SummerSlam was one night?
Oh,
You had 30,000 people in a 70,000 seat arena. They papered that thing to no end. If you do it for one night, I'm willing to bet you would have had 55, 60,000 people there, had the place just about full, and you wouldn't have had to worry about it. And you wouldn't have been putting out 25% off coupons for people to buy tickets a week before the show.
yeah. Back to the WrestleMania part. Thinking about WrestleMania 35 kind of haunts me a bit because like that was a super long WrestleMania. The 8 hours combined with a 3-hour kickoff show. It doesn't need to be 3 hours. I'm okay with it too. And then a 5-hour main card. But like I said, WrestleMania 35, there was about 3, maybe 4 matches that didn't need to be on there. And I don't want to get to more of that. But on SummerSlam's behalf, I like the concepts of how pay-per-views are now. I love these countdown shows where they treat it like college game day or NFL kickoff with a panel and the crowd in the background. And that's cool. I like this. This can get me hyped up for anything. I kind of wish they would do like college game day at the end, do match predictions at the end. I mean, you ain't got to get McAfee to put no headgear on or put a wrestler's t-shirt on in the main event or something to get them hyped up. Just pick the matches and go with the business. But SummerSlam, that should have been a night show. I got tired of people complaining that the ray of sunlight through the skyline wall was in their face, and it was beautiful. It looked like heaven. If wrestling was in heaven, that's God getting a great view of SummerSlam, but it needed to be a night show. What was the point of starting it at freaking 4:00 in the afternoon in Mountain Time, which I think Minneapolis is in Mountain Time, and it was still daylight.
No, Minneapolis is Central.
Minneapolis is Central. Oh, wow. I thought they were Mountain Time.
No, sir. And what would have made complete sense, you have to end it in the dark. It makes no sense to fire off fireworks during the day. It's bad enough the pyro that they had early with Brock and with Brock and Oba finished it. But when you had the matches at the beginning, like with the 4-way, and things of that nature, you got all this stuff going on, and it's daylight. You can't see 3/4 of the fireworks or the pyro because it's daylight. And I don't get it either. I'm with you. I don't. If they would have started it at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, it would have finished about 11 Eastern, 10 Central. It'd have been dark. Last match, fire off the fireworks. It'll look super cool in the night sky, all that kind of stuff. No, the show ends and it's still daylight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna run my SummerSlam reaction down as quick as possible, and then I'll let you follow. So overall, I was impressed how SummerSlam actually was. I thought it was going to be the shittiest show. This might have been their best show of the year so far. It was definitely better than WrestleMania. Rumble was actually not bad, but this kind of out-topped the Rumble. So night one, the first 2 matches shocked me with the results. I thought EO was going to win the title, and then everyone was going to get what they want. The Judgment Day split up. No, Liv's still holding the title. The 6-man tag, I thought the Bloodline was going to win. No, they actually put LA Knight over and Jey Uso taking the pin. Solo Sikoa, you got my respect now. You're the funniest guy in the world, mocking Jey Uso, running it back, and even having the guy playing the damn theme song to piss him off made it even better. Nick Aldis and Gunther was definitely match of the night for night one. Nick Aldis, who I just realized is 2 years older than me now that I hit 37, still can go. I wish he would keep wrestling, but he's now back in his GM role. The women's 6-man tag was definitely the worst match of night one. Didn't need to be on the card, but I called it They turned on Paige, and Nikki blew it up on TV. You trying to take my spot? Fast forward, there was a lot of shit that happened that night that you and I called, and it happened. We'll get to it in a bit. Cody and Punk was kind of average, but I feel like Orton making a return saved it and gave the energy back. Punk. So I guess maybe after what happened last night, we're playing back and forth. Who's getting this heel turn? Oba and Brock. I didn't hate it, but I felt like it should have been longer. It should have been more hardcore, and it should have been bloodier. Brock announcing the retirement on my birthday was another shock, but it was just the way he did it. But when he went out of character and passed the torch to say he's the next big thing, I was like, oh, yeah, he's done. But he announced it on McAfee, and we saw a whole side of him I never seen before. Night 2, who kicked off? Who opened? Oh, a big surprise tonight. Way to start night 2. The number 1 contenders match. Gunther gets added, and by a shock, this one was the biggest shock of all. Kevin Owens coming back? I don't think no one predicted him to come back. They predicted Orton. He come back. We didn't get Stephanie Vaquer back that night, but we got her back the next night on Raw. I wish she'd have came back at SummerSlam. And KO winning it and pissing Sammy off makes it even better, but it kind of leaves Finn Balor in the dust, and I feel sorry for Finn. I'm so glad Baron Corbin won the U.S. title, but why is he still carrying around that ugly belt? Unless they're going to put it back on Trick, but something else might happen. But I want Trick in the Money in the Bank ladder match. The ladder match. The ladder match I think was next. Either way, they pulled the trigger on Chelsea Green, and I absolutely approve it. And the way she won it, I love it. And then I love how they're saying she ain't the interim champion. They're declaring her as the real champion in this storyline, and I love every single bit of it. The Human Money's on a Pole match was definitely the worst match of night 2 and the worst match of the weekend. Even Meltzer rated it half a star. It was a stupid match. That definitely was a piss break for me. The last 2 matches is a toss-up of match of the night, but man, Gable and Penta killed it, but I was surprised that Penta tapped out. I figured he was going to pin Penta. He made him tap, and I love the celebration with his family and his in-laws and his kids and his wife. Roman and Seth was a very good match, but I don't think that was their best match ever. It was back and forth, had me at the edge of my seat, but Roman finally beat him on pay-per-view, but didn't see the whole fist bump stuff at the end. Like, I didn't get the purpose of that. It would have made more sense if by a surprise we got a John Moxley or Ambrose a part of this. Didn't really get that ending with the fist bump, unless they're trying to say, oh, this is the end of an era.
It ended the Shield.
It ended the Shield. Or they'll never wrestle each other again. But SummerSlam, I'll give it a 3.5. It wasn't too bad. I'd have gave it 4 if it had been at night, but your 6-woman tag and the Money's on a Pole kind of took it away from being a 5-star show. And I'm pretty sure there were 40,000 people, but shocked they didn't have an attendance announcement. Were they that ashamed that they didn't get enough tickets? I thought it was a pretty packed crowd, but
that's exactly what it was.
That's my TED Talk. That's my TED Talk for SummerSlam. So I'm going to hand it off to you.
According to the people that know, okay. And that's, you got the people at WrestleTix, and they're the ones that kind of keep track of this stuff, right? The attendance for SummerSlam was 36,683 for night 1, 33,086 for night 2, 70,000 total for the weekend. That's why they didn't say anything, because they wouldn't have broken the record, period, for both of them together. And they only announce the deal when there's a record, if you ever notice. They only announce the attendance. So I agree with you on a lot of the of your SummerSlam opinions. There was, when we talked about it initially, there was a lot that I was just like, cringeworthy type stuff. I really thought EO was going to beat Liv. I'm kind of curious to see where this goes from here. The 6-man, I was a little surprised, but I'm glad to see that they had the bloodline go down. Little disappointed in what happened with Royce Keys. and what they're doing with, unless they're just planning on bringing him back to be Oba Part 2. I'm still not a fan of Solo. I'm sorry. Just he he does absolutely zero for me. I'm sorry. Um, Nick Aldis did exactly what I expected him to. Put on a tremendous match. You knew Gunther was going to put on a good match. Would I love to see that be a 6, 8, 10 match, storyline? Absolutely. But you and I both know that's not happening. Um, but at the same time, Nick Aldis proved that he can still get in there if he has to. Fatal Influence, Bella Twins, Paige, don't care. Didn't care, still don't. I hate that Brie got hurt. She broke her collarbone during the match. So, she's going to be down for quite a while. And leaving Brie out there by herself. And by the way, I would like for anyone that really cares about Brie versus Paige to please say something, because I don't. I could not give three flying craps about that particular feud. Um, Punk beating Rhodes. Yeah, I mean, I was curious about this thing the whole time. It was a good match. It was a really good match. Um, Orton getting involved, okay. Um, I figured that this was going to get us our Cody and Randy stuff that we've been waiting for since WrestleMania. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get, especially after last night on SmackDown. Punk looks like KO is going to be his next real challenge, which is fine. I think that those would be very good matches. I'm just concerned about KO's neck, man. But I surprised when he came back. I had heard there was rumblings that he might come back and that kind of stuff at SummerSlam. But everything I'd heard about his neck, I didn't think that was a possibility. So kudos to him. I certainly hope that everything, goes according to plan with his neck, continues to go according to plan, and he doesn't have any issues. But yeah, that was huge. And then Oba and Brock, I picked Oba to win. I knew this was the perfect landing place for Lesnar's career. He was at home. But remember, we were talking about Sable and his daughter and all that kind of stuff. None of them were there. It wasn't like the Chad Gable thing where his wife and his kids came in the ring and all that kind of stuff. Sable has distanced herself from wrestling since she left. And I think Brock was just looking, okay, I'm done. Here we go. I can go hunting and that kind of stuff now all the time, and watch my daughter tear things up in college. So hell of a 25-year career. I mean, good grief. And he kept it short and sweet when he did the deal putting Oba over, which I thought was pretty cool. It was pretty class move. Night one, definitely the match of the night was Nick Aldis and Gunther. I mean, as good as Punk and Cody was, I know you said you wish that Brock and Oba went longer. It went almost 11 minutes. How long did you want it to go?
The Hell in a Cell. It lasted like 11 minutes or so, but I was
it was like 10:57 or something like that.
I was hoping about 35, 40 minutes.
You were never going to get 35, 40 minutes out of those guys. You know how long Brock's longest match of his career was?
15, 20.
24. And that was the match against Lesnar where he went and got the Earth Mover and picked up the corner of the ring. trying to remember exactly when that was.
Are you talking about SummerSlam with Roman when he grabbed the tractor and lifted the ring up?
That was
I
his
would,
longest match of his career.
really, I was gonna say, I wonder if it was like the Hell in a Cell with Undertaker in like
20 minutes.
or maybe the stretcher match with Big Show. I thought like one of those. I knew his match with Kurt at like WrestleMania stuff was probably like 15 minutes or something, maybe close to 20, but I knew it wasn't super long.
Yeah. And see, if you remember right, and now granted, this was 2003. He was what, 2 months into it? He did have that 1 hour Iron Man match against Angle on SummerSlam or on SmackDown, remember?
Yeah, when he won the title back and he didn't tap out. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was probably his longest free televised match.
Well, that was the longest match without a stipulation attached to it, because that was 60 minutes no matter what happens. His 5 longest matches outside of that were, and I've got them right here. Whoops, those are the shortest. There we go. Okay, longest. 25 minutes, 17 seconds against Punk in 2013 at SummerSlam.
Damn.
25 minutes against Undertaker at WrestleMania. 23 minutes against Triple H at WrestleMania. 18 minutes against Daniel Bryan at Survivor Series. And then 2015 Hell in a Cell against Taker was 18 minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, outside of that 1 hour match that he had with Angle all the way back in 2003, he never had a match go more than 25 minutes. And I would have been thoroughly, because Oba's never had a match go more than 15. I don't think he's ever had a match go more than 10. So, yeah, I would have been surprised if it had gone as long as you were hoping for. I honestly thought it would be in that 15 to 20 range. But see, I'm not overly surprised nobody got busted open.
Me too. That probably might have been one of the only Hell in a Cell matches I can remember on the men's side where no one got busted open. But then again, there were probably a lot in the 2010s and 20s. But have you ever got your night 2 reactions yet? Or I think I've heard all.
Yeah, I'm going to that right now. KO. Well, bringing Gunther in made sense, simply because he really should have been part of the match in the first place. But when they brought KO in, I think that was basically a middle finger from Nick Aldis to Sammy. And I agree with you. It's kind of screwed Finn. But with this I'm kind of curious with this new thing that Shinsuke Nakamura's got put together, if we might see the Demon tied in with that. Just curious. Corbin beating Trick. We talked about that before the card. And I said the only way it made sense for Trick to lose the title was if he was going to go after the world title. And like you said, Money in the Bank's right there. I mean, if he doesn't win Money in the Bank, the only reason he doesn't win it is because so many people expect him to win it that they throw a curveball. Chelsea winning the women's title. The only other person I could have seen winning it is Charlotte, just to get her 15th. And with the way Rhea's knee is, because I don't know if you've seen the pictures and stuff like that, she ain't going to be around for a while. From what I gather, she had meniscus surgery, and she ain't going to be around for a hot minute. So I think Chelsea getting it, and she's over. I mean, she's more than over. In fact, I heard Matt Cardona on Chris Van Vliet's show, and Cardona said, heck, people think I'm over. I'm not even the most over guy in my family. thought that was pretty good. I'm with you on the Danhausen thing. And I don't know if you knew this or not. Are you familiar with Brad Williams, the comedian?
Yeah, I heard about it.
He was one of the mini Housens.
One of them's El
You know,
Torito, which we've been knowing that. One of them is El Torito. Let me guess,
yeah.
one's probably Hornswoggle that we don't know about. I mean,
I don't think it was. From what I gather, Swoggle and WWE is oil and water at the moment.
okay.
Chad Gable and Penta, come on. I mean, that was as advertised. Fantastic match. If they don't have those guys going back and forth for a long time, they're screwing it up somewhere. Glad to see Gable win it. Roman and Seth was good, uneventful, to be honest. I mean, remember I told you when we did this last week and previewed it that I thought that night one was going to be better than night two, and I still think it was. Outside of the four-way and Gable and Penta, eh. So, if I'm going to give it, you use the 5-star scale, I'll give the whole show like 3.5, 3.25, 3.5.
Fair.
You know, nothing on there they couldn't have made into one night and called it good.
Yeah. You could have took the 6-woman tag and the Human Money's on a pole match, and that was your whole one night right there. 10 matches.
SmackDown the night before.
Yeah. You had 12 total matches. You could have took them 2 off and had 10. That was your whole one night show.
Yep. You could put those other 2 matches either on the pre-show or on SmackDown the night before.
I did SmackDown.
Call it good.
Yeah, I did SmackDown the night before. All right. So with what we got left, which are the 2 main courses, I'll let you decide which one you want to start with first. We can either do our new list I came up with, top 10 Hell in a Cell, or we can go ahead and start on the Renegade.
Well, I think Renegade isn't going to take very long. And you always want to end with a big pop. So let's do Renegade first and end with our list. How's that sound?
You got it. So, by the way, another thing that happened on my birthday, a type of Dark Side of the Ring I asked for. Something that very controversial, has a sad, devastating ending to make it that type of show it is. And we got that with this one. So Richard Wilson, when I first saw this character as a picture, don't ask why I thought he was portraying a Native American wrestler until I really dug deep and I'm like, oh, he's trying to portray the Ultimate Warrior, which I saw by 94 when they brought Hogan in, they wanted to remagic the 80s, like bringing in Macho Man, bringing in anybody else he may have worked with in the late 80s, early 90s and whatnot. Well, by 95, when we were getting done censored, he was going in a feud with Vader. He kept saying he was going to have somebody in his corner. They kept saying it was an ultimate surprise, but when you see like the silhouette of him in the background, everybody thinking it's the Ultimate Warrior, which by then I don't even know if he was still wrestling with WWF, because I remember he got like fired in 91 for a bit, and then he came back for a couple more years. Like I remember his career didn't take off in 96 and shit, and then he came in 98 during to try and recreate WrestleMania 6, and it was horrific. I'll get more into that. Well, when they bring this guy in, everybody realized, oh, wait, this ain't the Ultimate Warrior. This is just somebody trying to mock him. And I know his career was short-lived. I'll speak more about that, but didn't realize before he got recognized as an exotic dancer. I say exotic dancer because, yeah, he used to work for Club La Vila. He used to go by Rio. And he's not a stripper, folks. There's a difference between a stripper and an exotic dancer. He was basically a Chippendale, you could kind of say. Like, he wasn't like swinging on a pole, stripping butt ass naked for women. No, he was kind of like in a stage role where he might dress skimpy, but he's not like waving his junk around in front of women. He's like doing showbiz. He's like singing, like that he was doing like a Guardian type gladiator warrior style gimmick, but they called him Rio or King of the Jungle or something, kind of like how the Georgia the Jungle vibe. And then he got recognized to go, he was in some like independent territory in the 90s. I think it was called North American Wrestling Association. And then he was trained by Killer Kowalski to go into the International Wrestling Federation before he got recognized to go into WCW. But that's where I'll start with him, and then I'll let you go. But, bro, if you've seen what he looked like, he looked like something from the 80s. He looked like he was in a glamour rock band with that hair. And
yeah, and one thing that they completely glossed over was the fact that when they first started talking about this guy on WCW, they called him the Renegade Warrior. And yes, you could very easily have gotten the misconception in your mind that this guy was playing a Native American. If you didn't really think about it, and that he was supposed to be, because when he first came in, he wasn't, really tied that much with Hogan. And what he was doing, he was just coming in. And they were the one thing that I completely call bullshit on, because Jim Hellwig was every bit of 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". Saw the man, met the man, was around the man. And he's about the same size as my dad, height-wise. My dad was 6'5". There is no way in this world Renegade was 6'5". He was 6'1" at best, maybe 6 foot. So that was strike one for WCW in this whole thing. Let me say this before anything else. This thing was destined for failure from the jump. Because they were trying to make him into a Temu version of one of the most popular people in the history of professional wrestling. And it wasn't going to fly. And people were going to see through it at some point. Hogan teasing it as the ultimate, his ultimate partner, his ultimate solution, or whatever the terminology was. Again, painting that picture, it's that thing of, and I think it was Jim Mitchell that said the bait and switch, which is pretty much what it was. You gave every single impression that the Ultimate Warrior was going to be his backup, and then you get his baby brother, basically. Not a good look for Renegade, not a good look for Rick Wilson. But you got to give the dude credit for buying in, for being 100% into the role, into the gimmick. But as we'll talk about as we continue through the show, it did not turn out great.
No, and I guess just by people's reactions, they kind of knew it was a ripoff. And I mean, they tried to do what they can with him, but I didn't realize. I thought his career in when I mean short-lived, I thought it was just maybe less than a year or right at a year. That was it. I think his career went 3 years in WCW, because it said he started in 95. That's when he debuted at Uncensored, when Hogan was feuding with Vader. But it says his career went to 98, right when they brought in the actual guy, the Ultimate Warrior, or just the Warrior. In between that time frame, they did what they could with him. They put the TV title on him when he beat Arn Anderson at the Great American Bash. But I don't know. Killer Kowalski must have not did a good job training him, because according to Orndorff, it was that bad that, you know what I said. With what they wanted to show on TV, they showed some good spots, but I had the nerve to go find the match on YouTube. And I'm like, oh my God, he was right. This was a crock of shit. And you thought he was going to be a transitional champion when they got to the Bash at the Beach 95, we would have covered. He had a match with Orndorff on the beach, and they had him retain until he got to Fall Brawl and lost to Diamond Dallas Page. So his only title he ever won in WCW lasted like 2 or 3 months. You think they should have took it off of him ASAP instead of giving him a couple-month reign, or what?
They never should have put it on him in the first place. When you have two guys like Double A and Paul Orndorff, 100% shit on this guy. I mean, they may as well have dragged him into the middle of the ring and took a big steaming dump right on his chest. And it wouldn't have embarrassed him any less. He was not ready by any stretch to be in the ring with guys like that. Now, I say guys like that because when you're working with a Hogan and a Brother Brutai, I guess at that point in time, Brutus Beefcake, or guys like that's a different ball game. That's not okay. Let's look right over my shoulder. It's not wrestling. It's not the wrestling. Double A, Orndorff, Bobby Eaton, Stan Lane, Johnny B. Bad. Those guys were wrestling. You put Renegade in there, and it was like putting vegetable oil in water. It's going to separate as quick as anything, and it's just not going to be coherent. Another one of those, I feel bad for the guy. You know, if it would have been, I'm thinking of somebody else from that time frame. Let's say Max Payne had the TV title, and he beat Max Payne for the title. Whole different thing. Arn Anderson called that the most embarrassing match of his career. Think about that one for a hot second. As many matches as Double A had in his career, that was the most embarrassing match of his career. And he had to eat the pin to this guy. But he was put in the wrong situation. Again, you can't put a guy of his type in a situation where he's in a foreign land. So they should have never given him the title in that way because nobody was ever going to believe it.
Yeah, because plus he was just a knockoff. As he's just a warrior knockoff of that character. He could have been anybody else. Like if they'd have kept him as Rio, he probably would have had a better career as what he started as in the Indies, as Rio, the King of the Jungle. He would have been more. I think he'd have been more successful as that than this whole Renegade shit. But that was Eric Bischoff.
You bring up a great point, and you may remember this guy. He was there for a hot minute, and then he just faded away. Jungle Jim Steele.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He could have been Jungle Jim Steele and really made something out of that. Really could have. I mean, he had the look, he had the charisma, all that kind of stuff. He already kind of had the gimmick nailed down with the stuff he did when he was an exotic dancer. He could have taken that somewhere. But to take a ripoff of the Ultimate Warrior, no, not going to happen.
I guess I think it was right before he came. Whenever they kind of wrote him off TV, whenever he had that match with Kevin Sullivan, and then like Jimmy Hart just kept slapping him, saying you're nothing, you'll never be nothing, and kind of wiped the paint off his face. I think that was right before he got there because somehow I thought that was the end of his career, but no, he obviously came back in 96, but he was still the Renegade, but he just didn't have the face paint and the tassels. He was just being himself, but they just had him losing. I can't even tell you if he ever won another match when he came back. I know they put him in a tag team.
I think he did.
I know they put him in a tag team with Joe Gomez. I don't know if they had a team name together, but they wasn't even successful as a tag team, putting them in feuds with like Rock and Roll Express and the Four Horsemen and those guys.
They were a glorified enhancement team. They were athletes. Joe Gomez, if he would have been a little bit better on the mic, he had some talent. I mean, he's a big guy. He was bigger than the Renegade.
Oh yeah.
He probably had Renegade by 2 inches in height and probably about 30 or 40 pounds. You know, Joe could have been they could have developed him into something. But you can't get the stink off of you. You know, one of the other things that they wouldn't get rid of is that name. You know, quit calling him Renegade. Call him anything else. I wouldn't have even used Rick. Forget that, because you got another guy named Rick roaming around over there. You don't even want that. You know, name him, you know, Ichabod Crane or some crazy stuff like that. I don't, you know, it doesn't matter, but give him a chance to show as what he can do without any of that extra BS around it.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, that's Bischoff.
Yeah, he wasn't really smart back then. But then all of a sudden, magically, in the summer of 98, they bring in the actual Warrior to try and recreate WrestleMania 6. And my God, I will never forget how horrific that was at Halloween Havoc 98. The ending of the show just killed it anyway with that match, and then DDP and Goldberg's banger got cut off pay-per-view timing because you had to put that freaking WrestleMania 6 relivization all over again. But on Renegade's behalf, then he gets released, and then shit just kind of hit the fan. He started drinking, started doing drugs, and then later in his life, he committed suicide, which is sad.
Yeah. It is. Nobody was a bigger Warrior fan than me. And I was a Warrior fan when he was the Dingo Warrior in Dallas. When he was managed by Gary Hart, when he was teaming up with Kerry Von Erich after he turned. I dressed up as him one year for Halloween when I was like 11 or 12. Maybe a little older than that. And to see, I mean, Warrior even tried putting him over. Warrior tried giving him the stamp of approval, saying this guy is legit, and it still didn't work. And then to see his dream just fall apart. You know, then he got involved with some things he shouldn't have gotten involved with. And like you said, he ended up committing suicide. Young guy. I don't think he was 40. I think he was like 30 something when he committed suicide.
He was 30. Yeah, he was 33.
33, yeah. So, you know, a life cut way too short. But, you know, a lot of people ask, you know, dark side of the ring. What do you mean dark side? This is part of it. Because when you get a guy that you gave a gimmick that people had to know that this was going to fail from the jump. But nobody wanted to say anything to Bischoff. Nobody wanted to say, you know, I have to think that if Dusty or Flair would have had the pencil, it would have never happened. Or it would have been different. Let's put it that way. But you got Russo and you got Bischoff.
I'm shocked Russo didn't pop up and like bro counted us about the Renegade and crap talk.
Well, he was, yeah, but it just, I feel bad about stuff like that. You know, 33 years old. Okay, 33-year-old. Kerry Von Erich was 33 years old when he killed himself. My boy.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Candido was 32 when that blood clot got him from his broken ankle. And the blood clot killed him.
Eddie was 30. Eddie was 38.
Yeah, Eddie was 38. And he had put his body through a whole lot of shit too. Let's be honest. So did Kerry. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not making either one of them out to be angels, but Renegade just kind of fell into that line of guys that we lost way too. The week before, Ray Traylor was 41, Kurt Hennig was 40, his best friend. Neither one of them committed suicide, but they had put their bodies through the stuff and all that. You just have to wonder if something like that would have happened now with all the mental health things and stuff like that. Would he have suffered the same fate? I don't think so. Of course, I don't think the scenario would have happened in the first place, but I definitely think that he would have had a whole lot more support around him to try to make things better. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, that's all I got on the Renegade. Next week should be very simple and very interesting. We'll do the Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, someone definitely in your time. And I want to see what was dark about him, really, besides his little incident where he just really wasn't all there when he retired.
Oh, you're going to find out.
I just know he had a
dark side is definitely after his retirement. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because when I looked at him, I mean, besides maybe doing steroids, I was like, I'm shocked he didn't make it in the NFL because, like, he was an outstanding football player. Even my dad told me that. He was like, I remember when he was a football player. And he was with the Saints at one point, and then he got into wrestling.
Was he hurt?
Yeah, I figured it was an injury. That's usually the wrestling story of former athletes in the pros. So they had a career-ending injury. They just shift to wrestling. So.
Oh, and the crazy part is it was a career-ending injury when he got it. Right now, he'd have spent a year on the sidelines and been back on the field because he blew his ACL.
I can't wait to see this one. So, and it's crazy. We're already down to 3. We got this one. We got Missy Hyatt, which I don't know much about, but I know she had something with the Sandman in ECW, or she used to be married.
She was in in Dallas for a long time too. That's where she got started, was in Dallas.
She was married to a former wrestler. I forgot which one. And then, of course,
she was married to Eddie Gilbert.
Showtime Eddie Gilbert. Yep. And they did one on him Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. I'm sorry. Yeah, they did him last season or 2 seasons ago. They did. Was she on? Yep. Was she one of the people that talked?
No.
Eddie
Gilbert, add him to that list of people we were just talking about a minute ago.
I remember that episode.
Died way too quick. And she still loved him. Mm-hmm. And she will not talk about Eddie at all. I've heard her talk about lots of shit. And we're friends on a couple of different social media platforms. And she's a big Civil War buff. There's one of those things you can go, really?
I remember you told me that.
She's huge into Civil War stuff. She goes to like those reenactments and takes part in the Civil War reenactments and all that. And we've talked about them a couple different times, what got you into it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, she'll talk wrestling a little bit. She won't talk Eddie Gilbert. I hope it's too hard on her.
I hope she brings the Civil War stuff up on Dark Side of the Ring when they sit down. I wish they would bring up Eddie. Unless they pay her a lot of money to talk about Eddie Gilbert, we'll see. But Zach Gowen is the one I'm waiting for. I don't have much to say on him till we get closer. But one more thing, Renegade related.
Yeah.
If Hogan was still here, you think he'd have did the interview on Dark Side of the Ring, or you think he just did a voiceover, like a phone call?
Nah, he would have probably done the. Hogan never met a camera he didn't like.
Because when they did the steroid trial, I think he just did a voiceover. He didn't even appear on Dark Side of the Ring. He didn't want to. He just did a voiceover. Well,
but that was a legal thing that, I'm sure his lawyer was sitting right there with him and all that kind of stuff. With this, yeah, I mean, Hogan probably would. Like I say, he never met a camera he didn't like. So, what? Excuse me. Would Hogan have done something with it? Probably. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, because even I think Bash at the Beach 2000, he just did a voiceover when that shit happened with Lane, with Jeff Jarrett and all that. But
Oh yeah, you're right.
all right, so
I wish they would have been able to get him for that TNA piece.
yeah, he didn't even do a voiceover for that either. I think he was already gone. Like they didn't even have no like old phone calls or voice recordings of him talking TNA. Or if they did, I must have missed it.
Nah, he had gotten sick and then he passed away before the episode, before they finished everything with the episode. Yeah.
Okay, so like when I watched Night of Champions when they were promoting Seth and Braun Steel cage match, when they on the SummerSlam countdown, when they were talking Oba Brock's Hell in a Cell, they actually made a top 10 greatest Hell in a Cell matches. I didn't hate it, but I looked at it like there were some good ones, but we can do better. So I'm going to reveal WWE's top 10 Hell in a Cell matches. And we're going to do like last time. We'll give a quick reaction and then we'll reveal ours. So at number 10, they put the 6-man Hell in a Cell from 2000 with Kurt, Rock, Triple H, Taker, Austin, Rikishi. Number 9, they did Batista versus Triple H at Vengeance 2005. Number 8, they put, this is the only women's Hell in a Cell they put on this list, Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch in 2021. Number 7, No Mercy 2002 with Brock and Undertaker, which I'm going to quickly say that was the bloodiest Hell in a Cell match I've ever seen in my life. Number 6, I'm shocked didn't end up in the top 3, but number 6, they put Triple H, Shawn Michaels from Bad Blood 2004. The match that should have ended their rivalry and not the Taboo Tuesday bullcrap. Top 5. So number 5, they put Randy Orton versus John Cena in 2009 at the Hell in a Cell event. Number 4, they put the very first Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels Undertaker at Bad Blood 97. Number 3 is the most recent one they've had. They put on the list CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. No, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins from Hell in a Cell 2022. And correction, number 2 is the most recent one they put. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Bad Blood 2024. And at number 1, according to the experts, the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time was Undertaker Triple H at WrestleMania 28. End of an era with Shawn as the referee. I don't hate the list, but I looked at some of these and I'm like, this one should have been higher. This one should have been lower. 1 or 2 of these shouldn't have been on the list. I don't care for it. It was boring. But anything you want to add to about their list before we reveal ours?
No, I'm with you. There's some that are on my list that were on their list just in different spots. There's some they didn't have on that I have on my list that they didn't even have on their list. So yeah, I mean, it goes back to the thing of different strokes for different folks. But they've got their people with their opinions and we've got ours and we'll have valid reasons for our stuff too. So, let's see what we've got. I guess we start with number 10, right?
Yeah. By the way, I don't know what they were thinking. I hated the red Hell in a Cell they did for a short time. I called it the McDonald's playpen.
Yeah.
I hated that. About the old school. All right, number 10. You go first because I'm going to go run to the bathroom and I'm going to turn the Bluetooth speaker on so I can hear you.
Well, number 10 for me was the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks. From Hell in a Cell 2016. From the entrances to the match itself, you could tell these women were going for it from the start. There were no punches pulled at all. They did do one thing that I hate in a Hell in a Cell match, but it does happen. where they ended up outside the ring and did the announce table and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, trying to take Sasha out on the backboard. It ended up with, and Sasha gets Charlotte in the bank statement. They're using shares. This was a rough match. But it was justifiable because of the feud. And that to me is a lot of what the Hell in a Cell match is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the ender for a feud. And, you had Charlotte put the figure 4 on. You had Sasha put the bank statement on. You had a table now and then. You had the chops. You had, if I remember right, Charlotte even did her moonsault. And Charlotte ended up winning it, but they beat each other to not a drop of blood, but beat each other to a pulp. I'm amazed that Charlotte was able to move as well as she did at the end of the match. But that's my number 10 is the first ever women's Hell in a Cell, Charlotte and Sasha Banks.
Did you copy off of me?
No, I promise.
That's my number 10 as well. I had to go with the very first women's as well. Even though I didn't like the outcome because I wanted Sasha to win and retain the title in her hometown, but I loved how they let it main event the show. So you got to start somewhere with the women, and they've had about, I don't know, they had about, 6 women's Hell in a Cell matches total? I mean, they haven't really had none lately. I want to say after 2021 that we haven't seen another women's one lately, and I don't know if it's because it's too dangerous for them and they don't want to work it anymore, but I wouldn't mind, like, if we're gonna put I want to see Rhea compete in a Hell in a Cell match. I want to see, if you want to, Bayley and Lyra, their rivalry's going so deep, it could end in Hell in a Cell if we wanted. I want to see Liv Morgan in a Hell in a Cell. I want to see Io Sky. I don't hate that they don't put them in it no more, but maybe once in a blue moon, because I would love to see those women I just named compete in a Hell in a Cell for the first time.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, spoiler alert, you'll and on my list you'll hear another women's win, but this one was a toss-up, but I'll get to later.
Well, that's right, okay. No. I'm not done with mine either, so. Okay.
All right. Number 9.
Me or you?
You go first.
Number 9 for me, Hell in a Cell 2014, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose.
I love that one. I do love that one.
That one was shortly after the breakup of the Shield. Ambrose was doing the Lunatic Fringe thing, and it's for the U.S. title.
I thought it was it was a non-title feud.
No, it was non-title. That's right. These guys, kendo sticks and stairs, and you name it, they used it. They even had the J&J security supposedly to distract and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing with this was the return of one Bray Wyatt. So it ended up where Bray gets involved and he wiped out Dean Ambrose, and then Rollins gets the win, and Ambrose gets hit again with Sister Abigail, and it goes from there. But that to me was I enjoyed that. I'm as much of a Bray Wyatt fan as I wasn't. I really enjoyed that match and the way that Bray fit into it, much like the way Kane fit into one down the road, or previously. But yeah, that's my number 9 is Hell in a Cell 2014.
By the way, you'd be so if you were at that show, you were lucky as hell because it was in Dallas.
Yeah, it was in Dallas. I was not there though. 2014, when that was going on, I was here, but for whatever reason, I was not there.
Well, it was that damn good that I had a choice to make. I ended up not watching the pay-per-view live because I chose to watch the Saints and the Packers on Sunday Night Football in the Dome on TV. And I said, well, I have the network. I'll go back and watch it on the network the next day. And my phone was blown up like, are you watching this? Holy crap. I'm like, no, I'm watching the Saints beat the Packers' ass. Do not spoil it, please.
Right.
And then I watched it the next day, and I'm like, holy crap. Not only was this a damn good match, it was a damn good show. And I'm like, I kind of wish I went to that show, but it would have been hell trying to drive that far out there. No, my number 9, I did Triple H versus Cactus Jack at No Way Out 2000, title versus career. By the way, Triple H, I think, has been in more Hell in a Cell matches than any other competitor, so you might hear his name a lot on this list. But this was one of those matches. This was back when they were not scared to go to the top, especially with Mick Foley, where I think what had me at all more than him getting backdropped through the roof and breaking the ring canvas was setting the barbed wire 2x4 on fire and hitting Triple H in the face with it. That was kind of like a holy crap moment, and left it laying on the top of the cage, and I'm like, that fencing's gonna catch on fire. You better put that out.
Mm-hmm.
But brutal match. But I put it up there at number 9. All right, number 8.
Number 8 for me, and I realize there's probably going to be some people out there going, "You have it this low." Taker, Mankind, King of the Ring, 1998, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Most iconic one of all.
Oh my God, he's broken in half.
Somebody stop the damn match. Yep.
One of the greatest quotes in the history of wrestling from old Jim Ross. Undertaker, Mankind, the match you just kind of mentioned a minute ago. They climb to the top, and Mick Foley goes through the top of the cage, lands, has the tooth lodged in his nose. They take him to the back. He gets off the gurney, comes back down to the ring. They fight more. One other part of this match that a lot of people don't know is Undertaker wrestled this match with a broken foot.
Mm-hmm. When he jumped off.
Which had to have been lovely climbing that cage.
I thought he broke it as soon as he dropped down. Like after he chokeslammed him through the roof, when he jumped from right there and landed, I thought that's when he broke his foot.
Mm-hmm. No, he went into the match with a broken foot.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Taker went into a lot of matches hurt before he ever got into it.
So, he fucking wrestled most of the summer then with a broken foot because I remember at one point him and Austin. So when him and Austin were tag champs, he was probably wrestling fully loaded with a broken foot.
Uh-huh. If you remember right, during that time frame, Austin spent most of the time in the ring.
I remember Austin that night wrestled with a staph infection, and he had his whole arm wrapped up when he did that first blood with Kane. And I always wondered, why did he have that big old brace on his arm or had his arm completely wrapped up? Like if it was broken and they were like, he had a major staph infection like the week prior. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a staph infection, it's very, very tender. So contact to it hurts. I had one many, many, many years ago. And mine was just the size of like a $50. But any contact to it, even putting my shirt over it, hurt.
Him trying to close in on a stunner would hurt, or doing a Luthes press.
Yeah. Right. Well, doing pretty much anything, leaning your arm against the rope when you're standing outside the ring. Putting your arms on the ropes just to relax would have to have hurt. But yeah, I mean, Undertaker Mankind, it's the match that everybody looks at when they think of Hell in a Cell. Um, let's be honest, it's the match that really put Mankind on the map. You realize just how, I mean, all the stuff that he did as Cactus Jack in WCW and in Global and all the stuff that he did every place else, it didn't, you knew he just was a little bit off. But when he did the stuff he did with that Hell in a Cell match, it amazed Undertaker. It amazed everybody. And that is what really helped launch the career of Mankind. Mick Foley.
Yeah, the match defined how brutal it can get, whatnot, and we see it every single month. We see it all the time. That iconic shot of him getting thrown off the top of the cell through the Spanish announce table, and you hear JR's iconic line. And then it led to two other holy crap moments: getting choke slammed through the roof with the chair falling on his face, breaking his tooth in his nose. And then that's when we saw thumbtacks involved for the first time in WWF, when he did he was just like sitting on his shoulders and he just like fell back with him and he fell on him and then choke slammed him on the tacks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And managed to still somehow wrestle the next night and whatnot with everything that happened with him. But yeah, match so famous it even had its own dark side of the ring, more than just talking about the match itself. But my number 8, I put Undertaker Edge from SummerSlam 2008. You gotta love when a big rivalry that stretches a whole year can culminate in that match, and this was one of those rivalries. When it started started planting the seeds in 07, but took a run for their money in 2008 because they had like 3 or 4 matches in 08, and it ended in Hell in a Cell. They never met each other in the ring again after that. What a way to end that. And I think the spot that I wouldn't say scared me the most, had me at holy shit. I would feel bad if someone in the crowd would have really got hurt. When Edge speared him through the cage wall and the wall just fell back and landed right on the security rail. Imagine if you were just leaned over and it would have caught you in the head. Like someone could have got seriously hurt from that. And then probably a lawsuit would have been filed and whatnot. But I like how it ended, where he choke slammed him off the ladder, through the canvas, went through the floor. And then when the match was over, he did like, instead of his like usual pose, he got on his knees and did like that. Then fire rose from the bottom. It was pretty cool. Yeah. And it was the first Hell in a Cell match at SummerSlam until Brock and Oba. So I put that at number 8. All right, number 7.
Number 7, Hell in a Cell 2017. Jimmy and Jay Uso against Big E and Xavier Woods. And I'm sure there's at least a couple of people out there going, what in the hell is he talking about? That, as much comedy stuff and things like that those guys do, especially, New Day, that rivalry with the Usos was rough. And they went in there and they beat the stuffing out of each other. It was Big E and Woods that were in there, and they used everything, man. Chairs and chains and sticks, and I even remember Woods pulling out a trombone and hitting one of the Usos with it. But that match was just, and it was, you hadn't really seen much in terms of tag team matches inside Hell in a Cell. But that one really was a really good match, finished off a good story. And the Usos ended up winning it and getting the tag titles. But yeah, that to me, number 7.
I didn't hate the idea, but number 1, nothing against Xavier Woods. I felt like Kofi and Big E would have been better against Jimmy and Jay. But I felt like having it was kind of pointless because, you want rivalries to culminate in this match. They were still feuding after this Hell in a Cell. They feuded all the way till about 2019 still. Yeah. So, plus, I don't know what I'm not hating that their support. I love when WWE, since 2012, WWE's goes all out and supports breast cancer awareness. They should have made the first and bottom rope white, because that looked like cotton candy ropes to me with blue, pink, blue. Like when SmackDown went supporting breast cancer, it looked like cotton candy ropes. They should have just did white rope, the top and the bottom white. Yeah. But it just looked weird. Yeah. But I'm not hating or criticizing WWE's support of any time they want to raise awareness. I am 100% behind any type of raising awareness. I support breast cancer awareness and whatnot. I just thought it just looked strange inside of Hell in a Cell. A blue, pink, blue rope.
Right.
It should have been white, pink, white. I'd have been fine with that. But I don't know. Creative wasn't thinking clearly. But at least they still had the actual cell. They didn't jump to that McDonald's playpen shit till 2018. And then it looked really, really strange. A ring with blue and pink ropes surrounded by a red cage.
Yeah, that was, it's like, okay, you're trying to get a little too fancy here. Let's just use this thing for what it's worth, or what it's supposed to be used for.
All right, my number 7, one you've already mentioned, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose from Hell in a Cell 2014. I loved how it started at the top and then they worked their way down. I absolutely loved that it main evented instead of Cena and Orton. I said they need to end the night with this, and I got what I wanted. I was hoping Ambrose would have won the match, but I was okay with how it ended with Bray Wyatt coming back, and that him and Dean Ambrose had a nice little feud to close out 2014. So yeah. I was okay with Rollins winning it that way. And it was a brutal match too. All right, number 6.
Well, number 6, fittingly enough, is a 6-man Hell in a Cell match. Angle, Austin, Taker, Rock, Trips, and Rikishi. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things don't belong. Which is definitely Rikishi. Of course, that was during the same time that he did the I did it for the Rock. I did it for the people. Okay. But you have Rock, Austin, Taker, Triple H, 4 of the biggest names, plus Angle, 5 of the biggest names in the company, and Rikishi. The biggest thing that Rikishi did was he got launched by The Undertaker off the top of the cell into the bed of a hay-filled pickup truck. So, it was what you would expect. I mean, it was chaos. You had guys, you were talking about bloody Hell in a Cell matches. This was another one that was, I think everybody might have been bleeding except Rikishi on that match. But Angle ended up pinning The Rock to win the title, or retain the title, excuse me. And everybody remembers, though, from that match, Rikishi taking the dive off, or the throw off, I guess, from Taker into the bed of the truck.
I love that match. You'll hear it. You'll hear my take on it later because it did make the list. Number 6, I put another women's Hell in a Cell, but man, this one was a hard decision because I had to go back and rewatch 2 Hell in a Cell matches to make a final decision. So I put it number 6, Bianca Belair versus Bayley in 2021. It was so good. It was the best women's Hell in a Cell match to happen in front of no fans. Imagine what it'd have been like in front of a sold-out crowd with them two.
Yeah.
What it went over. Now, I used to love, or I still love to this day, I love Becky and Sasha's Hell in a Cell from 2019. I wanted to put that one so bad because that horrific show, that was the only good Hell in a Cell match. Don't get me started on The Fiend and Seth Rollins with how that shit ended. But that was probably one of the best red Hell in a Cell matches I ever saw. But imagine if that would have been in front of a sold-out crowd instead of the Thunderdome, which that pay-per-view also alone was a crappy show, but
that
was the only like good Hell in a Cell match for that pay-per-view alone, and maybe the best to have with no fans in the Thunderdome era where people were watching through a screen on their computers overall, because I don't think there was ever a men's Hell in a Cell match in that pandemic era that was really that damn good. They had some pointless ones, but that one, I still say, with Bianca and Bayley. And this is when Bayley turned that heel gimmick, when she had that like evil laugh and whatnot. She had that little talk show, like, what was it, Knock Knock or some shit like that? That little talk show she had.
Yeah, Ding Dong Knock
Ding Dong,
Knock
yeah.
or whatever the heck it was. Yeah.
With the door in the middle. Yeah, that was like their best feud.
And every wrestler that you talk to during that era, any match, even a regular match, was 5 times harder because they couldn't feed off the crowd. The canned crowd noise doesn't do it. So, to have that kind of a match, that was a really good match, and especially with the situation that made it even tougher. Yeah, you're right. That's a really good call. Really good call.
Okay, top 5. Let's see what we got here. Start your number 5.
My number 5 is Bad Blood 2024. Punk and McIntyre. I mean, those two guys, it got personal, man. They were pulling no punches whatsoever. They used everything, I think, including a toolbox. I know they used wrenches and tables and chains and chairs and just all kinds of stuff. And there was a lot of really, really hard feelings during that match and before the match and all that kind of deal. And I think even after the match, McIntyre had to get 15 or 16 staples in his head after the match. Punk was bloodied up. Punk ends up winning it. And he wrapped a chain around his knee for the GTS. So, but after all this is part of what Hell in a Cell was for. To take a very, very heated rivalry and finish it. And that's what it did. That's really what it did. So that's why that's up there for me.
Okay, so I love the match. By the way, that's my number 5 as well. Here's my
Very
take.
good, very good.
I absolutely loved the match. I hated how they planned this show. And I went on a serious ass rant about this because we've had this was the 4th Bad Blood we've had. They had it in 97. They brought it back as a Raw exclusive in 2003, 2004, and then they went 20 years without it. What was one thing that the first 3 had in common that you could kind of say was a trademark? Bad Blood closed out with a Hell in a Cell match. And when I saw we were getting this, I said, let's keep the tradition going. No, they opened the show with Hell in a Cell and wanted to close out with a stupid tag match with Roman and Cody. I forgot who they faced in a tag match. I was upset about it. And then that was the last time we saw The Rock on WWE until Elimination Chamber. But he just showing off his freaking Brahma Bull belt and then showing the clock like a stupid ending. And I was furious. Like, you just broke tradition. Why did Punk and McIntyre should have closed out, not open the show? Like, you killed that vibe, and I was so pissed about it. I'm still pissed about it. I forgot. I'm gonna have to look up and see who did Roman and Cody fight in that tag team main event, and then had The Rock come out at the end. I'm looking it up right now. But
I'm trying to remember myself.
Hang on, here we go. I got it. It was Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu.
That explains why we didn't remember it.
Punk and McIntyre should have closed out. And I still say that to this day. Because the ending made no goddamn sense. That was the last time we saw The Rock until he come to New Orleans to announce a lie about WrestleMania. And then the last time we saw him on TV was when Cena turned heel. And we haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
But, all right, number 4.
Well, number 4 on my list is my second ladies match. It's Becky and Sasha from Hell in a Cell 2019.
Good. You got more common sense than me.
I do. Okay. This was just, she turned on Becky, and there was just a whole bunch of this was probably a lot more weapon based than Charlotte and Sasha. Sasha and Charlotte had a chair or two and a table. You had chairs all over the place. You had tables all over the place when this thing was all said and done. They literally beat the absolute living hell out of each other. And, Becky ended up winning the match by using the disarmer with Sasha's arm around the chair. And that to me was probably, I'd really have to do some digging. Probably the most physical women's match I've seen was that one there.
This was when Sasha had blue hair, and that was she was my most favorite with the blue hair. That's when she turned heel. Came back from her absence of being upset with how she was with the company when they dropped the tag titles at WrestleMania. Oh, I loved blue hair Sasha. I miss blue hair Sasha. My number 4, I put the bloodiest Hell in a Cell match of all time. Or I wouldn't say all time, but to me, this was the bloodiest one I ever saw. Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, No Mercy 2002. Brock's first Hell in a Cell match. It was just brutal. I mean, remember, Undertaker had a broken hand because when SmackDown was in Lafayette, Brock broke his hand by smashing his hand with a propane tank against the concrete wall. And the only thing that made the storyline kind of stupid was Paul Heyman and them crying like, this is illegal. He's going to use the cast as a weapon. He should not be able to wear it. There's no rules in Hell in a Cell. It's anything goes, no holds barred. Right. He was going to wear it anyway. And, yeah, he's going to pull a Bob Orton and use it as a weapon. And I don't know. I just thought that was kind of dumb in the storyline, like complaining about him wearing a casket when you can use the cage as a weapon and whatever. I don't know. I mean, Undertaker's a badass. Like you mentioned, he's wrestled with a broken foot through the weeks. Look, I've broken a wrist playing football. That was painful. Even in the healing process with a cast on and all that, it was painful. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. It still haunts me to this day, like when I think about it, because like I broke the wrist in 2004. This happened in 2002. When Brock ripped the cast off and taking the chair shots to the broken hand on the cast, it was like, oh my God, like I can imagine the pain he's going through when he's fighting through that. Taking a chair shot against the steel cage and ripping the cast off and putting pressure on it, making it even worse. And then seeing Paul Heyman in a crimson bloodbath when he got ran through the cage wall was like, oh my God. The only one that probably wasn't busted open was Brock. Brock was just bleeding from Undertaker's blood because Undertaker was a freaking mess from getting hit with the chair, hit with the steps, hit through the cell wall.
I'm trying to think. Brock bleeding once, maybe twice. I'm just trying to remember in his career him bleeding outside of a bloody nose
or a busted lip.
Yeah, I'm saying actually like forehead cut open once or twice, maybe.
Yeah, but he just had blood smeared all over his body from like F5 and Taker suplexing him and whatnot. And
yeah,
it was one of the most brutal matches where they did not have to go to the top of the cell. But I think this was when they started cutting down, going to the top of the cell because of how dangerous it could get. But Brock did close out the show, climbing to the top to stand above with the WWE title, like I'm the biggest, I'm the big thing, and whatnot. I took out the dead man in his yard and whatnot. But
yeah.
I mean, imagine it. I mean, I doubt Undertaker really had the strength to even at his age at that time to go climb to the top. So having Brock go up at the end just to kind of give us a like cool moment, like, oh, he's standing tall on the dead man's yard on top of the cell, his playground, Devil's Playground, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Iconic moment. Number 3.
Well, number 3, we just saw Brock Lesnar, Obafemi.
You put that at 3? Okay.
I put it at 3. I think that it was an 11-minute clinic on how to finish a rivalry.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because Brock and Oba, I mean, they each had a win, and this was the decider, and each man got theirs in because one wasn't going to dominate the other one. At the same time, though, you had the changing of the guard of, Brock making Oba the next big thing. It was, to me, absolutely. I mean, was it a scientific masterpiece? No. Was it Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio? No. But for what it was supposed to do, it accomplished it 100%. So yeah, that's my number 3.
My number 3, I put the end of an era. Undertaker, Triple H, WrestleMania 28 with Shawn Michaels as the referee. What a better way to end their... Even though, I don't get the end of an era because Taker and Triple H ended up having one more match at Super Showdown in Australia. Unless they were talking about what was left in the Attitude Era. I don't get this whole end of an era shit. But having Shawn as the referee made it even better. Even though he was calling it down the middle, but each of them had their own little like spin-off and shoving with Shawn. But it was one of those matches where I thought the streak was going to end. I did pick Taker to win, which he did. He went 20-0. But by after 2009, with that banger of an instant classic I was there for with Shawn, this was when I was slowly like, okay, the streak's eventually going to end. I thought Shawn was going to end it the following year. He failed. Triple H had 2 more attempts. I thought this was going to be the one where it ended. When I kept saying end of an era, I kept thinking the streak was going to be over. But now the streak continued for 2 more years. But banger of a match. Then the awesome moment where they both walked Triple H out and then they were standing on the stage together. Triple H and Taker.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was an iconic moment right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. And it is on my list. I've got a little higher, obviously, than what you do, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those matches that you when you think of iconic matches in WWE, that's one of those matches that's right at the top of the list.
All right, top 2.
Yep. My number 2 is the original Taker and Shawn Michaels, Bad Blood, 1997, the premiere edition of Hell in a Cell. The first time that it ever happened. Taker absolutely turned Shawn Michaels into a Super Ball, bouncing him around, over, through the ring. You talk about a bloody mess. Shawn was an absolute just pouring. And of course, this was also the debut of Kane, when the lights turned red, and Kane comes out ripping the cell door off the hinges. Tombstone pile drives the Undertaker. And Shawn, who had been beaten to an absolute just puddle, ends up getting the win because of the interference of Kane and starting the Kane Taker rivalry, which took on a whole different element. But this match started two major parts of WWE in the late 90s and through today: Taker and Kane, and of course, the first Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it a hitting gem, but some people, I'm sure there were people that looked at Taker and Mick Foley's from King of the Ring and thought that was the first Hell in a Cell. The only thing that got me, I thought that was the second Hell in a Cell match, but technically that was the third. Because supposedly there was a Hell in a Cell match on Raw like a week or 2 weeks before King of the Ring that no one talks about. So, no, this one was iconic. I mean, this was kind of started it all. I kind of wish it would have been the title, but it was the number one contenders match, basically. And Shawn was the European champion as well for this match. But it was a nice way to show what you can do in this match where even the referees or even a cameraman could get seriously injured, where they take it out, they use it in their advantage to go to the top. When Shawn took the backdrop and the military press, I was waiting for him to fall through. No, his little moment came when Taker like smashed his hand while he was holding on, and he just like fell off the side through the announce table. Even though he didn't fall from the complete top of the roof, he still fell pretty high. The chair shot he took. How did he not get a concussion from that banger right before Kane made his debut in that iconic moment where he ripped the door off, stirred his brother down, tombstoned him, and they should have did all this with lights, because when I saw that moment again, I'm like, oh God, I feel like it's The Fiend and Seth Rollins 2019, where they did the match in the freaking dark. But Shawn being the first winner didn't upset me, but I felt like Undertaker was one of those guys that made the match super famous. I figured he should have been the first to win it, but I get what they were doing, trying to run Bret out, ending at the rivalry with his great nemesis. But match more defines the Undertaker, but Shawn won the first, and Triple H has more victories or more appearances than the Undertaker. So he's kind of a dark horse in this one.
Yep.
Before I reveal my number, I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. My number two, shocked if it's not your number one, or it might be someone else's number one. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, Bad Blood 2004. It was the longest Hell in a Cell match of all time. It was over 45 minutes. Meltzer gave it 5 stars. I remember giving it 5. I was so glad the title wasn't involved. They didn't need the title for this. It was so brutal. They did so much brutal shit. They didn't even have to go to the top. I loved how they used tables, ladders, chairs, sledgehammers, 2x4, barbed wire. They used anything they got under the ring, and it showed how brutal it was. When the match was over, they were just both laid out on the canvas for like 10 minutes. They both got stretchered out. It still should have been the end of the rivalry there, but unfortunately, the WWE Universe wanted to run it back one more time at Taboo Tuesday with that bullshit. To me, I thought the rivalry ended right here. Great Hell in a Cell match where they did not have to go be too dangerous and go to the top.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely. I mean, that was a great Hell in a Cell match. It was actually my number 11. So, yeah.
Well, I think I might know what your number one is, but let's get, what is, in your opinion, the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time?
For me, you talked about it a little while ago. I think it was your number 3. Mania 28, Undertaker, Triple H. You talk about leaving it all in the ring. That match was the epitome of leaving it all in the ring. Those two guys, and that was 30-some minutes, if I remember right. But those two guys went in there and they told the story. They had a great physical match. I don't think either one of them was bleeding. If I remember right, neither one of them was bleeding in that match.
No, none of them
But
did. They
it
just
was really,
banged
really
up.
physical. A lot of give and take, a lot of indecisiveness as far as who's going to win this thing. You really didn't know. For 1 minute you're thinking Triple H is going to pull it off and end the streak, and then the next minute, no, Taker's going to get it. It was so down the middle. You didn't know. You didn't know from the beginning. And the whole match started without a word being said, with those two guys standing in the middle of the ring on Monday Night Raw, pointing at the WrestleMania sign. That started it.
That was good.
And I thought that was just freaking great. So yeah, I mean, from the start of the match and the build up of the match to the match itself, to me, it's honestly not even close. That's my number one. And yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, I agree with WWE on that one.
I also loved where at WrestleMania, before the match started, the cell wasn't even down. They just looked at each other, and then they just looked up, and then you heard "The Memory Remains" by Metallica, and it had its own entrance with smoke and everything. Like it was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they did not move. They just stood and stared face to face until the bell rang. And then I think once the bell rang, they still stared each other down for like another few seconds, and then they kind of like got in position to like lock up, like no strikes or nothing like that. So it was a unique way to start it. All right. My most favorite Hell in a Cell match of all time, I believe it's the greatest. The 6-man Hell in a Cell at Armageddon.
Oh, okay.
So that was the first Hell in a Cell match I ever watched live. I just thought it was unique how Mick Foley, who was the commissioner, took 3 huge rivalries that was at Survivor Series. Austin was shooting with Triple H after he got hit with, he was the one that got planned to hit him with the car. Rock was feuding with Rikishi over bloodline situations and stealing the Rock's car and whatnot to hit Austin. And Kurt was feuding with The Undertaker for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. And then it took a peek when Taker choke slammed him off the top of the stage through a table when he used his brother as a phony Kurt to screw Taker and cost him to win the title. But if you were wrestling in Godfather's pants, you didn't need to be champion that night. But Mick was just like, we got 3 huge rivalries going on right now at once. Why don't we put you all in a Hell in a Cell match? And we were like, this is fucking crazy. Vince didn't even want it to happen. And I remember the whole night, him and the Stooges, Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson, were doing everything they can to not prevent it from happening. And then Mick Foley put himself against the wall saying, if someone gets seriously hurt, I'm going to resign as commissioner. Well, the next night he got fired by Vince.
Right. Yeah.
It was just everything. I was waiting to see what a Hell in a Cell match live on pay-per-view was going to be like, and they just were fighting everywhere. And as soon as he came out with that truck and ripped the door off, I said, oh yeah, they're getting out. And then they were fighting on the stage. They were fighting in the crowd.
Yeah.
Everyone did something at the top of the cell except The Rock. I don't know if The Rock was just being a little pussy. He did not want to get on top. He never got on top of the cell. He was the only one that didn't go on the cell. He did not climb it. I don't know if he's afraid of heights or he didn't want to do nothing. Everybody else went up there. I even love the camera shots when the cameraman's in the ring and he's pointing up and you can just see like right below them. That shot when Taker hit Kurt with the chair and he just fell flat back on the top of the cell was a cool shot. I'm like, how the hell did Rikishi get up there at 350, almost 400 pounds and didn't stumble or the cell didn't break? But nah, that spot, I knew something was going to happen with Rikishi. And I'm like, he's going to get thrown in the back of that truck with all that, whatever it was, hay or I call it gerbil feed or whatnot.
Yeah.
If he didn't even
if you think about it,
He didn't even choke slam him. He just grabbed him by the throat and just pushed him off. That one, he didn't even lift him and throw him down. He just was like, pushed him by the throat. But it was a cool moment. And then Rikishi never moved after that. And I'm like, he's dead. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's just breathing. He looked like he's about to have a seizure laying there.
Right.
But The Rock taking the pin too kind of hurt me because I thought we were going to have a new champion. Like Kurt Angle survived and found a way to retain his title, and he went after the weakest guy in the match, my guy, The Rock. He didn't pin Austin. He didn't pin Taker. Was stuck on top of the cell. It was just Austin, Rock, Triple H, and Kurt. Triple H was like brutally beat up. He was laid out in the corner. Austin and Rock were beating the hell out of each other. And then after he stunned The Rock, Austin's like legs just gave out. He fell down, and then Angle just slowly rolled over and pinned The Rock after he took a stunner and retained his title. And we were like, oh my God, did that just happen? But it was a very exciting Hell in a Cell, and it happened in front of a bunch of inbred rednecks in Alabama. They were lucky to have a banger of a Hell in a Cell in the state of Alabama.
Yep.
Still a classic. I actually love that pay-per-view too. Armageddon 2000. That was a hidden gem. But, well, that was good. I'll wrap this up for the day. So what we got next week? Nothing major. I mean, we'll talk Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and then we'll find something else to gossip about while we go through the week.
Yeah. I was thinking about something. I don't know what you think about this, but what I was thinking, since we both kind of remember this era, you more through watching it on YouTube and that sort of deal. But what if we did top 5 and Mid-South / UWF matches?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Definitely do that.
To go along with our Mr. Wonderful Dark Side.
Yeah, because I want to say Wonderful was also in those territories as well.
He was in Mid-South. Yeah, he wasn't in UWF. He was already in New York by that time. But he was in Mid-South in the early 80s, like 82, 83. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely do that. It might be crazy to find 10 matches. I can maybe do 5 for sure.
I was saying 5. Top 5.
Yeah, definitely top 5. We can do that. All right.
Yeah, if we could, let's do, we do top 5 Mid-South / UWF matches.
You got it. Well, all right. That will wrap up today's show. I'm at Dirty South ENT _ Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Also with Driving to the Top, you can catch me occasionally on Mondays with Fans of the Diamond, the baseball roundtable show, Tuesdays open mic, where we jib jab whatever. I was celebrating a birthday. I didn't have time to get on open mic, but I heard that no one showed up for it. And then my weekly show on the go still on Thursdays, but by the end of the month, I'm going to shift back to Wednesdays when football season is fully underway. And Saturday mornings with the Cajun Turnbuckle Podcast.
Sounds good, man. You can get me on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it this week, at BigRich8371, or on Facebook, just my name, Rich Richardson. And we'll be here. We'll have some baseball talk tonight on the network. Monday night with Fans of the Diamond, Tuesday night open mic, and then Wednesday, Adam and I talk Pittsburgh sports, Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, Pitt Panthers, etc. And then it goes way off the beaten path after that on Steel City Sports Talk. So lots of different spots. And then, of course, next week we'll be right back here with this.
Hell yeah. Well, that will do it. Thank y'all for tuning in or listening. And I'll see you possibly Monday night.
Sounds good, man. We'll see you then.